Hello and welcome to OT, the podcast. We're here to talk about watches, time, and how to spend it. My name is Felix Schultz.
And I'm Andy Green. Felix, how you going?
A little highly enthusiastic, it seems.
It was a very enthusiastic intro.
I'm just faking it till I make it.
Those late Sunday evening vibes. Felix, we've got a wild ride coming up with Matt Wright, the Croc Wrangler. He is quite a colourful character. Crazy stories coming right up.
I reckon.
I've never spoken to anyone quite like him.
I think this is perhaps the most Australian episode we have ever had.
Yeah, our international listeners will find this one quite interesting. We have a good chat to him about crocs. It's very educational on the crocodile front.
Yeah.
A little bit of watch chat towards the end, so hang out for that.
Yep,
Felix,
yep.
what's been happening?
Well, yeah, look, I have definitely not been getting close to any crocodiles, but I have been getting close to Panerai.
Oh,
That was a weird segue. I don't know where else that could have gone. No, I was up in Sydney the other week for the first time. I got on a plane for like the first time in a year. That was weird. And I
how
did,
weird.
I mean, like not that. It all comes flooding back. The joy of cramped seats and only now everyone was wearing a mask.
Watch spotting on a plane.
I got the plane back with one of the AFL women's teams. And I was like, oh, these people are all very tall, wearing the same clothes. Oh, it's a sports team. Cool. That was kind of cool. Low key Aussie celebrity spotting. But I was up there for Revolution, doing a little video interview with Panerai, and it was pretty fun. So stay tuned for that. I'm in the middle of putting all that stuff together, but we talk about. I think it's fair. I don't think there's going to be many spoilers, but we talk about gold watches.
Oh,
Yeah.
very cool.
And the only other thing I've been up to, Andy, have you been getting like watches and wonders anxiety?
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. I feel like all of these sort of Zoom presentations we've had over the last 12 months have been getting us ready for the fully immersive Watches and Wonders that's going to come up in April.
And like, so I've been getting a few calls like saying, "Oh, are you open for an interview with this, or do you want to have one?" I'm like, yeah, sure. I don't have any idea what the format really is. Like, so I don't know if it's going to be like from midnight till 2 in the morning because of time zones or anything. I don't know what I've signed up for. Should probably.
Are you ready? Are you ready to dedicate like the full week of your life to it? Like you would say you were there?
I'm hoping not. To be honest,
Let's hope none of your editors and publishers are listening.
No, I will dedicate myself 100% to whichever of my respective employers are listening to this. The only problem is, Andy, that we're kind of each other's employers. So maybe have I failed my performance review?
We'll talk about this later.
KPIs cross. What have you been up to, mate?
A little bit lately, but probably the one thing worth noting is that Piaget Altiplano with the meteorite dial that I talked about a few weeks ago. That article went live at kennedy.com.au. If you just kind of poke around for their journal or type my name in, you'll see it.
Nice.
So I put down probably, like 1,000 words on my thoughts on that watch. But
did you use the phrases "out of this world," "starstruck," and I don't know, other sort of like meteorite puns?
Extraterrestrial. Well, you know I did because you edited it, so you're just setting me up there. I think you have to write "out of this world" whenever you look at
Andy,
a meteorite
you've made
dial.
the fatal mistake of writing up a meteorite dial is not including "out of this world" in the headline. It's a fail. Red pen.
It has to be. It has to be. Something I've liked lately, Felix, which I think is pretty cool, and there's a watch tie-in, and there's a OT the podcast alum tie-in. The 60th anniversary of the Jaguar E-Type. So what Jaguar did, they found these. They've released two cars, a coupe and a convertible, that they're selling as pairs. So you have to buy both. They've done 6 pairs, so 12 cars all up.
Yep.
And it's to commemorate the first ever E-Type, the Series 1, which was shown at the Geneva Motor Show in 1961 on March 15th.
Is it
now, there's some really cool touches around this car.
Uh-huh.
What do you say?
I was just going to say, is it fair to say that the E-Type is sort of widely regarded as one of the most beautiful car designs of all time?
Yeah, most beautiful, one of the most iconic. The 1960s was definitely a classic time for cars, and the sort of the E type being the series one is it's quite special. But what they've done is they're doing the two pairs, and they sort of just offered them to people that they know would probably buy them.
Mhm.
Uh, they're all sold, so they're all gone. No one but the people that bought them knows how much they paid, which I find quite interesting.
That's cool.
So they've just sort of quietly negotiated that. I don't know if everyone's paid the same. I don't know if some people have paid more than others, but they were sort of, I believe they were restored from donor cars. So Jaguar went out and found, like originals and restored them all up.
Yeah,
The cars
nice.
themselves are like stunning. Like we'll have to post pictures and link this all up, but they're just absolutely stunning interpretations. And yeah, lo and behold, our friend Johnny Dow, King Nerd himself, had sort of done this beautiful engraving on I want to. Well, they've got gated shifters, but it's not quite the shifter. It's more like I guess, the metal plate. So they're not gated shifters, but by the handbrake. Sorry, he's done this metal plate, and he's kind of engraved, I guess, half of a car and like a bit of a map, and it's it recalls the drive of Bob Berry and Norman Lewis. So it's stunning, and it's just sort of really cool to see Johnny doing a project like that.
That's
Uh,
pretty
so
rad.
that is cool. Yeah. It's like Johnny, because he put up this video on like Facebook the other day, and it was about Jaguar, and it was like this teaser video. I'm like, what have you done? What could you have possibly done here?
Mm.
But it's just this really beautiful center console. I mean, every detail on these cars is absolutely extraordinary. Now, the other thing that happened, obviously, Jaguar aren't the only people kind of celebrating that 60th
Mhm,
anniversary.
mhm,
Our
mhm.
friends at Bremont did a watch that also came out, and that sort of I believe it's a limited edition. I think they did two different dials,
Mm.
variations on the kind of I think the E type watch that they have, or the D type. I can't remember. Uh, and I heard that they found out maybe through Jaguar, but they've offered pieces 1 through 6 to the purchase of these cars.
Oh, nice. I mean, that makes
So
sense. Yeah. That's a
yeah, and they all took up the offer, which is pretty cool.
yeah. I mean, I can only assume that if you're spending the sort of money that Jag want for the car, like the watches, why not?
Yeah, like what's 18 grand?
Yeah.
Oh, and those watches came with if you bought the watches, it came with a really cool dash clock, like
Oh,
two
like a
sort of
Bremont
rally
brand.
timers on a
Yeah, like a classic timer.
on a piece of wood.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
which is really really cool. It's sick. Yeah,
I like Jag.
yeah, it'd be awesome if they sold them separately.
Yeah, well, if you're listening, Bremont, please sell your dash timer separately, and you will get one in his VW.
Yeah, fantastic.
Well, you know what we need to do, Andy?
Well,
We need to get onto this interview. But before we do, the episode has been made possible by G-Shock. So you and I, Andy, we've been wearing around some of their MTG range for a little bit. We'll talk
mm,
about that in the coming weeks, though. Today, though, as we said, we're chatting to Matt Wright, who I think is possibly one of the only people out there who might be even tougher than a G-Shock. No spoilers, but after listening to this interview, you're going to have a whole new appreciation for crocodiles, helicopters, and the people that work with both of them. So, for more
ooh,
info on G-Shock and the watches we talk about in the episode, hit the show notes or head to g-shockaustralia.com.au.
cool. Well, let's get Matt on the phone.
Might as well. Today's guest is about as Australian as it gets. He was raised on the rugged plains of Australia. Matt Wright has done plenty of jobs: horse wrangler, soldier, crocodile egg collector, a job that led him to a career as a helicopter pilot, a wildlife relocator, and award-winning tourism operator. But you might know him as the star of National Geographic's hit TV show Outback Wrangler, where he tracks down, captures, and transports a diverse range of dangerous animals, including crocs, buffalo, and even polar bears, that might be posing a threat to people. The goal, he says, is to preserve wildlife, to relocate problem animals, rather than have them killed. Welcome to OT, the podcast, Matt. It is a real honour.
Thanks, guys. Thank you. It's good to be part of it.
Mate, welcome. I think that's the longest intro we've ever had. So I think Felix is have a moment for air. Matt, the first question I have is, I see these videos of you, on Instagram and on the internet, getting in the water with crocodiles. Why? Why?
I think my wife asked me the same question time and time again. It's I guess it's a fascination. People have this massive fear on wildlife that they can't go near it, they can't interact with it. But at the end of the day, you can, and it's more so just to, have show that point of difference where
Yep.
we can interact, we can be part of the natural balance of what we have around us. And interacting with crocodiles, yes, you can do that, but you've got to be careful. Like, I don't recommend everyone goes out and jumps in the water with a crocodile. Definitely not. You'll get eaten pretty quickly. But I think there's only a handful of crocs that I'll get in with.
Yep.
Only because I know their nature. But it's like someone working with lions and tigers and getting into the cage, and a lot of there's different people around the world working with different animals, and I guess mine and my forte is the crocodiles here in Australia.
Amazing. Well, you came to us via our friends at G-Shock, so we'll get into the watch stuff in a minute. But I really want to talk about your LinkedIn profile. Like Felix said, horse wrangler, soldier, croc egg collector. How did it all start for you? Like, how did you end up with this sort of hit TV show and this sort of becoming this sort of media personality? Like, where did it all begin?
Oh, so how much time you got? It's a long story.
I'm sure it's fascinating though.
I don't know. As a kid growing up, loved the outdoors, loved the adventure, and just always finding something new. Wasn't much for school, always in trouble at school, and rebelled against any sort of authority or getting told what to do, and sort of wanted to make my own path and follow my own dreams. And in doing so, a bit of an ADD kid, I spent every minute doing something or trying something new and investing in myself, whether it was flying choppers or learning new stuff and working with wildlife. And the wildlife side of things was second nature to me as a kid. And at 6 years old, I was catching brown snakes and bringing them home. I tried to catch a taipan one day. Mum stopped me on that, and that thing was about 8 foot, and I was literally just able to walk, sort of thing, to when I was challenging myself to these to the wildlife, and it developed through me growing up. I always loved being outdoors and traveling to new places and experiencing new wildlife. And as I grew, and as school finished, I took off, and that's what I did. And then investing in myself and traveling, just these outcomes, becoming the army and different jobs in different places is what happened and what led me there. It's not a normal career that you could really map out for someone to try and do, but end of the day, it got me to where I was. And it's not it was a hard road and an interesting road at the same time, and seeing a lot of different stuff. So it still continues now. Now it's, instead of a blue tongue lizard in the backyard, I've got about a 10, 18-foot crocodiles.
something a bit bigger. One thing that sort of stuck out on your CV to me is the croc egg collecting. Why do you do that? What's that for?
Now, that's a huge industry, right? Now, and what happened was, back in the 70s, they shot all these crocodiles out, and we had about 4,000 crocs left in the wild. And what they were shooting them for is skin and meat, and we nearly shot every crocodile known to man out, and the waterways were safe up here in the territory in Queensland. You could swim everywhere, but we had no crocs. So the farmers and conservationists got together and said, well, we need to balance this out. Like, we can't just do this. People can't just go and shoot these our natural animals, native animals. So they created a farming side of things, where they did a lot of studies on where these crocs were nesting, then harvest the wild eggs, in return giving back an income to Indigenous, to the landowners. So this apex predator that now became, instead of a nuisance to them eating their cattle and dogs and their horses, they weren't just going to shoot them; they were going to look after them because they're seen as more of a livestock, as an income bringer to their property. And now Indigenous are using their natural resources, going out there killing buffalo and pigs to feed small crocodiles, all for the farming aspect side of things. It's still the eggs and everything we collect. We have to go pretty early before cyclones and floods and heat kills them all, because they'll will go underwater or they'll cook. So we go early and we try and pick these eggs up for the farms. So the industry it works is a commercial conservation program that gives back to the wildlife. And now we've got over 140,000 crocs in the wild, all because of the way we've managed the collection of crocodile eggs in the wild.
That's fascinating.
And in return, the wild population of crocs get looked after.
And can you sort of tell us, what does it look like to actually collect crocodile eggs? Because if I could be wrong, but I don't reckon crocodile mum and dad are particularly keen to have their eggs taken away.
No, it gets pretty intense out there. You get onto a nest, and not only you got a crocodile there that's quite aggressive, but you've also got some of the most deadly spiders, deadly snakes as you go into the nest. The water's rising. You got leeches, mosquitoes. And then you've got 100% humidity. It's it's a pretty volatile environment that you're working in. Plus, you're hanging underneath a chopper, 100 foot below the chopper, on a single line.
Yeah, that sounds pretty wild. Like you're a helicopter pilot as well.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite, I think it's my favorite crocodile that I can name, is Tripod. Really curious to hear how he's going and what the story behind Tripod is.
All right, Tripod was a bit of a menace in his day.
Mm-hmm.
And his real name's called James Perry Tripod, right?
Okay.
Junior.
Yep, that's his full name.
You call him James when he's in trouble?
Yeah. James, stop eating me, people.
Sit down, James.
Yeah. Behave yourself. Now, he was taken out of the Daly River back in the mid '80s, about '84 or '86, somewhere there.
Old boy.
By one of my mate's fathers. He was a big croc hunter, and he reverted back to saving crocodiles after the hunting days were over. This little Indigenous boy was working for him, and instead of bloody going in the boat and setting the trap, he swam out with a bit of horse meat on his back and swam it out to the croc cage, swam into the croc cage, set the cage, then swam back to shore. And the next day they caught Tripod.
Right.
And the little Indigenous fellow was called James Perry, from the Perry family, from the Daly River mission there.
Okay.
So that's how Tripod got his name, but he was there eating everyone's dogs and everything there at the community, and we're not sure if he'd eaten any people, but it was early days back then. No one really know.
And at that point, he had 4 legs or 3 legs?
No, he's always had 3.
Okay, is that like how he was born, or?
No, he would have had a big fight, and this is what these crocodiles do. When they get pushed into areas where they're injured and they're sick, they start becoming quite opportunistic, more aggressive, really fighting for food because they're struggling, and that's how this fella's got where he got, because he was struggling to catch his own tucker, and it was just easy pickings on the community's dogs. He was about 15 foot, 14 foot, I think, when they caught him, and he's only like 30 years ago. Wow. And he's only grown 2 feet since,
and lost a foot in the process.
Yeah, and lost the foot.
Now, what about Bonecruncher? Is he mates with Tripod? Or are they strictly?
Bonecruncher is probably one of the best well-known crocodiles. He is in the wild. Bonecruncher's in the wild, and Tripod's in captivity. Now, I met Bonecruncher's probably 7 years ago in the wild. He had his full jaw. He had both his eyes. There wasn't much wrong with him, but he was an adolescent male that was quite aggressive. And when I started working with him, I was on the bank and he'd get out and he'd chase me all around the flat, like 30, 40, 50 meters, just running after me, trying to run me down. And over time, I'd back up to him and give him a bit of aggression back to him, and told him, like, you can't go eating me. It's not the way things work. And he started becoming a lot more relaxed around me. He wouldn't chase me around trees so much. I still had to be careful. Yeah. And then at one stage there, he took off during the wet season, and he's gone to find a new area. He's gone into mischief somewhere, and he's lost part of his jaw. Since that happened, it took him probably 8-9 months to really fully recover, even longer. And in that period of time, he went and parked himself right in the shallows, away from all the big crocs. And so I looked after him over this sort of 12-month period, and brought him back to health, and I'd sit with him and make sure he's getting fed and he was happy. And since then, he's been the most placid crocodile. Like, I can get in the water with him. He comes up, like, we'll be working up there, pulling logs out of the river and that, so we can get the boats through. And he just comes and sits with us and just hangs out. You know, it's quite a unique relationship that we've built. And he still gets himself in trouble, even though this wet season he's been good. He hasn't got any more damage to him. But last wet season he lost part of his tail, and the wet season before that he lost his eye. So he still does get himself in a bit of strife. But this wet season he's been good, and he's just been hanging out near us.
Yeah, that's it's amazing. It says you've got quite the bond. So Bonecruncher is the croc that went viral for being told to sit in a video that you posted, right? So he didn't have most of his jaw then, but he's still pretty dangerous, right?
Oh, definitely, yeah. He's still got a lot of power there if he does grab hold of you, and you don't want to be grabbed by any croc. And these crocs they also grow and lose their teeth quite regularly. Every year the teeth will grow out, lose them, and they'll grow them back. So he doesn't have many teeth in his mouth, which isn't a bad thing.
He's got enough, though.
He's got enough there, and it definitely can do some damage.
Of course, and it's a fascinating video to see. What were you expecting the reaction that video got? Because it kind of went pretty viral.
Yeah, no, I didn't. It went nuts. I was out. I posted it and just took off fishing there for a couple of days, and came back and had a lot of media hype about it, trying to get in contact with me, but I was out fishing. So it was interesting to see. I think it's just videos in general. You don't know what's going to spark up, what doesn't. It's quite interesting. I've had a few different videos that go viral that you don't really expect it. You don't really know what will, what won't. And shit, I had one there of just a crocodile going down the rapids there one day.
Yeah.
And filmed it when I was out egg collecting. Just this big 15-foot male was cruising down the river, and I just sort of watched him and just filmed him as he came past. And that got a lot of media attention. And you just different. I guess Bonecruncher you can understand, because you're in the water with a bloody 13-foot croc. Tell him to back off and leave you alone, and and you'll work. And so it's something that people don't see all the time.
Yeah, so I find that really fascinating, and like, you're a pretty high profile sort of spokesperson for crocodiles and for Australian conservation more broadly. How do you balance the educational elements, the safety, sort of response? I guess that's part of education, and also the entertainment factor, like, of what you do. Do you how do you walk that line?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. You're always thinking defensively, I guess you could say. One, that you don't want to promote something where it's going to get people in trouble. So if they go and try and do what you're doing, and you've just got to be conscious on how you handle the stuff that you do. And at the end of the day, I've been working with wildlife, and this is what I explain through certain videos and certain stuff that I'm doing, that I've been working with wildlife for 30 odd years, 40 or 35 years, and crocodiles is in my backyard. So I understand, I know, and it's more so just trying to educate about how we need to look after the environment and the wildlife. You don't need to go and jump on the crocodiles and play with lines and all that sort of stuff to do this. But there's a handful of people in the world that do this to get the wow factor, to educate how to that it is a must that we look after these beautiful animals.
And why is it a must? Like, what is the sort of the benefit for Australia and for the environment for looking after these apex predators? Do they sort of have a flow-on effect for the ecosystem?
Well, it's just the world in general. If you don't look after what we have, it's such a rat race as it is, that there's so much development and progress going on. It's quite easy to forget about our ground roots on where it all starts, where it all comes from, and without that, we're going to lose everything. Like, you can't live in a concrete jungle the rest of your life.
Yeah,
you look what COVID's a prime example. Bang, everyone gets locked up for 6 months in their 2-bedroom unit, 1-bedroom unit. It's a nightmare, And up here, the environment's great. There's no COVID. It's quite free.
Yeah, sure. And another thing I was sort of wondering as I sort of watched some of your videos, you've been doing this for 35 years. Do you practice? Like, do you, and I'm thinking more sort of if you're trying to rescue or rehome a dangerous animal, do you like train for it, or is it instinct and reflex?
No, just instinct and reflex. And, and I think you retain what you learn every time you move wildlife. I've been sat on my ass many times, sat on my head a few times just from getting clipped by a crocodile that had broken ankles, and it hurts. And when it hurts, you don't want to do that again.
I bet it hurts.
Yeah.
Have there been moments when you're dangling from a helicopter or getting whacked by a croc that you really kind of regret life choices?
No, you never regret. Yeah, you do get the shit scared out of you at times. But there was a moment there one year I was on a crocodile nest, and we had the ring around me, and this crocodile launched up and wouldn't back off, and I couldn't get away, and the chopper was a long way away. And I thought I was going in the water with her. It was a fair old battle, and I held my ground, and she kept trying to come in a bit harder, but I'm still here, which is a good thing. But after that day, that was the first sort of time of using this ring set up to keep us protected. After that day, we learned never unhook from the chopper.
Yep.
So after that if we're using the ring, no one ever unhooks. We stay hooked up to the chopper. You can unhook from the ring, but and you don't unhook from the chopper. So you sort of learn this as you go along.
Amazing. What about in terms of highlights? Like, what's been the highlight of your sort of career or the rescues you've done so far?
I think working with different people in different fields around the world with different wildlife. Like the different rescue sanctuaries in Borneo, where they're working with the elephants and the orangutans, and then the different reptiles over there, and then going across to Africa, working with the rhinos over there and the lions, and it's. I think that's been the highlight.
Yep.
Is just seeing what other people are doing around the world, and then flying up in Canada, up through the Rockies, all through there, and seeing some absolutely amazing country. That's been a massive highlight. I'm glad I did it all when I was in my youth. When I was younger.
Sounds pretty good. Do you have a crazy rescue story, like the craziest rescue you've done?
No, but I did. I've got some pretty hectic stories.
Tell us the most hectic.
I had one. Oh, this one's just off the top of my head, and I only remember it because it only happened bloody couple of weeks ago. My memory's a bit shot these days. My wife's always asking, "Can you remember doing this?" I'm like, "No, not really." When we wrote our book, I wrote a couple of books, and she's asking me about all these stories, and I couldn't remember any. And like 2 weeks later, after we finished the book, I was like, "Oh, I remember we did this and did that." She goes, "Well, that would have been handy to put in the book, wouldn't it?" Anyway, so a couple of weeks ago, we were out collecting croc eggs. And I had to put the boys on this floating mat, all right, on this grass. And it's a floating grass all over billabongs, and this is what the crocodiles make their nests on. And these are the ones that cook really quickly. So if you don't pick them up and the sun's out, they will cook.
Okay.
And so we're going in sort of every day checking these. Anyway, this particular nest, this girl had made a nest this night. And I went in there. I had the boys on another one. I went over. I checked her out, and she was jumping out. She was quite aggressive. She was chasing the chopper around. I said, "Yep, no worries, you'll be right." And picked the boys up and took them over to this nest, and they hovered. This wasn't on the sling, right? So this is just hovering out off the skid and onto the floating grass.
Yep.
So did that, and I've just pulled away. The guys have hopped out. This is Willow, Tommy. And and I sort of looked back at him, and Tommy's gone through the mat, and he's up to his neck, trying to get back up, like he's underwater sort of thing, trying to climb back up onto the grassy mat. Willow's slowly sinking. He's about waist deep. And the crocodile's just opening her eyes, because when I went in there, she was on my side. I could see her there, the downdraft of the helicopter and everything. She's got her eyes closed. She wasn't too bothered. And she's opening her eyes and see these boys philandering around there. And then she's started going for them, and they've got no chance. They're stuck in reeds and water, and Tommy's neck deep in it, and Willow's about not far behind him. So I was like, shit, all right, what do we do here? And I was sort of working out how to hold this crocodile down with the chopper. So I came down as she came up onto the nest, and she was about to launch at the boys. I came down with the skid of the chopper and put the skid of the chopper just over the back of her head and held her there. And she didn't like it much.
The skid of the chopper is like the
thing you land on.
The skin you okay, yep. So
Yep. Like the skid that you land on, they're called your skids. So I just put that down, sort of half, put a bit of pressure on her just to hold her there while the guys could clamber out. Anyway, she got quite upset about that. And she spun around, grabbed hold of the chopper just right next to me there. I'm flying. And I was like, right, that's a bit close now. And she's got hold of that. The next one's in the cab with me. So I've pulled up, but she didn't want to let go of me, the chopper. So I've started pulling up and got up to about 10, 20 foot there, and she's still hanging on to the bloody chopper. I'm like, oh no, this is terrible. Like, she's grabbed another cross tube that comes down from the skin.
Would she weigh as much as the chopper?
Oh yeah, she was heavy, so she threw me around a little bit. Hard to control the chopper. The boys are still trying to get it. The boys are still trying to get out, looking at this crocodile sort of mid-air, thinking, hope he doesn't drop that on us.
Surprise!
Yeah, surprise. Anyway, then I sort of moved away from the nest a bit, and the boys, she's let go, and she's landed there. She's a bit like looking, wondering what the hell just happened. She went for a little fly, and the guys were back on their feet, and she saw they were back on their feet, and they'd come around from a different angle, and she went straight in and had another crack at them. So she was quite determined, and anyway, but that was a bit of a hair-raising moment at that time. But if I didn't do that, the guys would have got tubed. So it was, you had to make that quick decision to save their ass and sacrifice the chopper a little bit.
Sure. I mean, that does sound, as you would say, a little bit hectic.
Just a tad.
I got a question. Maybe this is not the question to ask directly after that story. If there's people out there listening to this and they're sort of really interested in animal conservation and wanted to get involved or get hands-on, what would you suggest?
I think it's just general practices. I think it's just trying to be aware of everything that we've got. Like, look at, there's a lot of rescue places around. We spend a lot of time and energy on conservation of humans and looking after. And it's sad seeing what happens in a lot of countries, a lot of third world countries. Were forever trying to look after the human population, whereas the human population is quite healthy, and animal populations is
Suffering.
getting decimated, and so is the natural habitat that they're living in. So I think we need to start really focusing on that side of things, and and really look after, because we've only got one world, one environment to live in together, and if we overpopulate that in a space, there's not going to be room for anyone, not even animals, so well, not even humans. So I think people just need to be conscious about it, and the recycling, the wildlife rehabilitation, the habitat destructions, the day-to-day use that we are, and waste that we do,
Create.
I think we do every day, wasting and consuming. We need to be quite conscious of what we're doing to the environment while we're doing this.
Yeah, sure. I think that's a great point. And related to that, maybe, is you're sort of involved, with you've got some services in the NT. Do you have any sort of? Did you grow up in the NT or did you move there for the Crocs?
No, I started in South Australia originally.
Okay, you travelled up.
Yep, and travelled a lot, and then eventually made my way up here as soon as I left school. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. So what are your top NT tips for someone that hasn't visited before?
Top NT tips.
Yeah, what should people do?
Other than visit Matt Wright.
Yeah, definitely go check out some crocodiles. See the waterfalls. Travel to all the parks, the national parks. Try different activities around the place. You've got, in the territory, you start or depending on where you come from, but you've got the desert down south, and then you work your way up. You've got Arnhem Land, a lot of Indigenous communities out there with a lot of culture where you can go and see and embrace and enjoy. The fishing's pretty amazing up here. And depending, like, a lot of people don't like coming up here in the wet season, but the wet season is quite spectacular. And I've seen a lot more people, obviously because of COVID, traveling up here in the wet and enjoying it. We have had definitely one of the best wets we've had for a long time, so it's been quite cool through the wet season. But it's magic. So there's been this huge culture for the territory where people only travel during the dry season. The dry season is nice; it's pretty. Sorry, the weather's nice, but as far as being pretty, now is the best time. The wet season is green. There's massive amounts of waterfall. Waters are flowing. It's absolutely spectacular. I love it. I love flying around.
Cheeky chopper ride in a monsoon.
Hey?
Cheeky chopper ride through the monsoons.
Yeah. Bloody oath. Yeah, we go through some hectic storms. Now we don't take people on those ones.
Just Crocs. Just Crocs through this.
Yeah.
Snakes on a plane. You're gonna get Crocs on a chopper.
You're gonna get requests all the time from tripods. Now gonna expect a ride. Bonecruncher. I love it. Well, Matt, you came to us via our friends at Casio G-Shock Australia. So what we want to know now is, how did that relationship come about? Because I understand it was quite organic and you've been a fan of the brand for a long time.
Yeah. So with the G-Shock is what I've been wearing my whole life pretty much. And I think with what I do, it's one of those products that having a partnership with them is natural, is normal. Like it's not forced or anything, because the product, the watch, everything about it has been in my life as far back as I can, like as long as I've sort of worn a watch,
Yep.
So, and then I think that they saw me wearing it, and it just developed from there,
And they're famously sort of like they're sort of famously tough watches. Like they can cop a bit of abuse. Have they ever failed you, or have you sort of lasted longer?
No, I think I was just looking at how many bloody watches I've got here from over the years, and they're all pretty much still working. Like I've got every drawer I open, there's one of my old G-Shock watches sitting in it. They seem to last the test of time, and I think that's why I use them, because they're just easier. A wife is like, well, can't you get a nice looking watch that you can wear to dinner, like a bloody shiny thing? I'm like, babe, that does not suit my needs. I need something for the bush.
Yep.
I need something for working hard. I need something that's going to last. And that's where the G-Shock comes in,
I think I've seen you rocking a G-Shock with a shirt before many a time.
What's that?
I think I've seen a photo of you rocking a G-Shock with like a dinner shirt.
Yeah, I do.
Do you have a favourite?
Hey, a favourite G-Shock?
Yeah.
Oh mate, I just
love
I've
more.
got the black one, and just I don't know them all by the names, but I as long as they're not too big and bulky, they're these ones here are just the ones that I'm wearing are really good. Like they're just really slick. I can move with them. They don't get hooked on anything. They're they're perfect what I'm using them for.
And so they can do a lot of things. There's alarms, there's like chronographs, there's stopwatches, there's, I don't know, time zones anywhere in the world. Do you use any of that, or is it just the time where you are?
Some of the stuff, the worldly time, yes. The new ones I've just got now, I've been playing around with them. Really good, because it's hooked onto the phone.
Oh yeah, the smartwatch, yeah. Or the
now it's hooked onto the phone. It changes all its, when you're traveling, it changes its time, and it does its own thing, and you don't have to muck around with it. Once it's set, it's set.
Yeah.
So the world time is like, I've got a few different world times set in my watch. So when I've got to call the States or something, or somewhere else, I'm just like, bang, what time is it there? Yep, easy, I can call,
Yeah, amazing. The app's pretty easy to use. I was just using it recently for one of my G-Shocks. So it's pretty simple.
Does your step things and your compass, and there's a whole heap of stuff in there.
It looks like you've been wearing one of it's like a camouflage G-Shock. Did I see?
The one I had, I don't know what. No, the one I've got now, I don't even know what it is. I've given the boys a couple of the camo ones.
Yeah, I've seen the camo ones pop up.
I posted one there that was on Willow's wrist the other day. I think he's got the green one. He's rocking that one. Mine's a little bit smaller one, which is just suits me. So, but also with these watches, the amount of times I've bloody had a bracelet on or something, and even seen other blokes that have had other watches. You run them up the side of a car. I did it. Really? I reckon I did it a few years ago. I had some other watch on, and it left the biggest scratch up the side of the car. I was like, oh no, it's devastating. So these ones, they're covered in the rubber, and it just doesn't even matter if you bump something with them.
Absolutely. Now, I know we've taken a fair bit of your time, and I know we've got to get on with our lives. Got a couple more questions for you. I've got a last one on the old G-Shocks. What's tougher, you or the watch?
Oh, mate, I think the watch is going to outlast me.
Yeah, with the amount of crocodiles you hang about, mate.
yeah, definitely. Yeah. There'll still be a drawer full of G-Shocks, and well, I'm sure that Banjo will be inheriting all my old watches, I can tell you.
Beeping away.
Yeah.
Matt, what we like to do with guests as we wrap an interview is ask them for a recommendation on something they've been, watching, listening to, reading, whatever it is that they've been enjoying that they think our listeners might also enjoy. Do you have anything for us?
A recommendation?
Yeah. Netflix, music, podcasts.
Mate, I would just recommend get outside, get in the outdoors and travel around Australia this year. Make the most of it. Have a crack.
Amazing.
We can't go anywhere else. We might as well explore our own
That's
home.
it.
Get up to the NT.
There's lots out there. I'm going to do the same. Just get out there, enjoy it while we can't travel. You'll be amazed at what different sites and different places you'll be able to find in Australia.
I think that's really great advice, Matt. And thank you so much for your time. It's been a real treat chatting to you. I don't think I'll ever want to get in a helicopter with you. No offense. But yeah, it's been wonderful chatting to you, and we'll link everything up. We'll share all your social media and the videos of you and your mate Tripod. So thank you so much for your time, and
no worries, guys.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it.
No, it's all easy. Thanks for having me. Good chat.
Pleasure. We'll chat soon.
Okay.
Bye.
See ya. Bye.
Wow, Felix. Crocs on chops. What a borderline insane chat with Matt Wright.
This is one of the episodes where I really regret podcasts not being a visual format, because the faces we were making at each other were like, oh my God, like
what the fuck? Yeah.
We were stressed.
Like most people, if they saw a crocodile from like 100 meters away, would lose their minds and run away. Nah, he's right there in the nests, not afraid to go see our friends Bonecruncher and Tripod. Well, Felix, this was quite the episode, pretty unique on all fronts. Thank you again to G-Shock Australia for sponsoring the show. Thank you to Major Tom Media for producing the show and putting it all together. If you want to email us your croc stories, otthepodcast@gmail.com. Felix, what is our Instagram handle?
Well, if you want to send us some croc pics, ot.podcast on the gram.
Crocs and watches. We'll get that hashtag trending. All right, guys.
Crocs
well, thank you all
clocks.
for listening. Crocs and clock. Oh, I don't know about that. Make sure you subscribe, leaving 5-star reviews on Apple, telling your friends, neighbors, sisters, brothers, all of it. We will see you next time.
Nice. See you later. No crocs next episode.
Bye. None.